not something that we've seen from them so far throughout Split 3. The Aurora more interesting, I think, as a playmaking tool and a really strong laner for Angel.
All right. Do EDG want to pay the classic red side ban? You heard all talk about how Varus is kind of maybe taking a bit of a dip, open up more towards the on-hit build. This would normally be a spot where you see Varus get dropped off the board. Would leave things up like the Rumble. Zhang wants to attack that. You also have a lot of his mainstay picks that are going to stay up outside of the Gwen. But also Taliyah.
I like Taliyah, though. Taliyah, a strong laner for Saber, something that's going to be really tough to gank on a lot of instances. And against Angel, I think taking one of his most played, really, really strong. When you think about the profile that Angel typically fills, Control Mage, I mean, some of his most played this season are Taliyah, Victor, and Orianna. So I think it's a good enough start here for Ultra Prime.
This is going to be fun to see, though, because, yeah, with Rumble being traded back, CDZ will happily gobble that one up. And if you're EDG, you got to be kind of happy to see, hey, Varus also gets back to us in this spot for on. So some pretty comfortable champions for EDG on the first two turns. But I'm curious to see how Zhang approaches this Rumble matchup, because the last time he faced a Rumble, he picked Sion and slapped it around silly. Yep, you heard it right.
That's tank top lanes right now, man. There are some carries, but a lot of them have gotten nerfed. If you think about, you know, Gwen getting nerfed, Rumble is actually a little bit stronger because they did that tick rate update for Singed and Rumble, so his win rate's actually spiked because of it, especially in solo queue. We'll see how that actually ends up occurring here in the game. Right now, EDG have a lot of range that they can play with. We are expecting it to be the on-hit build, which kind of limits some of EDG's ability to fight, but for Ultra Prime, it seems like they really want to play on multiple lanes. The range that you have with Taliyah, the Deadly Flourish allows for Baiye to actually be a little bit more effective when we talk about him being late to fights.
Oh, yeah. I love this, though, right? You talk about all those nerfed top laners. You know who isn't nerfed in the LPL carry-wise? It is the Ambessa. So Zhang is going to try and take hands and bring them up towards the top side to slam ZDZ home. But EDG, I would love to see this lock-in as well. We talk all the time about ultimate combos, layering ultimates, and I do not think J4 Rumble gets enough love for laying out a circle around that lava flow, and EDG are going to lock that in, make that a clear pick tool, and I love it into that Jhin as well. All means with it, when Baiye doesn't have flash, he should be dying with this combo every single time.
All right, so we're going to be seeing some pretty interesting gameplay here. EDG right now, they have a lot of damage in that way. The ability for them to slow down fights and, like you said, pair very well with all of their ultimates so far. It's all going to be about how they can synchronize some of these fights. And when I'm looking at it from Ultra Prime's perspective, it's going to be pretty hard for them to get to place first or correct their minion waves. So we'll see how Ultra Prime actually end up moving around the map with some of the matchups that they have, especially that top lane matchup we'll see a little bit later into the game. We get in the back end of draft here, flying through bans, the Nautilus taken away. What engage support are we going to be picking up here for Parukia? I imagine we still have the Alistar, we still have the Rel. All right.
So he's going to go and lock in the Alistar. This does make it interesting that you mentioned the Rel angle. You know, there's a lot of really common Rel pairings in the bot side. I was about to say, I don't think Jhin is one that you really see too often. I like the slipperiness of the Rakan as well. But Junhao had a standout Game 1 performance against Thundertalk on this Trundle. It's a lot of good picks for Ultra Prime to go with. I think Rakan or Trundle are two solid ones. You could just, I mean, I'm forgetting how blue side works. You could just get both of them right here, Hulk.
Yeah, that's true. Trundle seems a little bit strange, but usually Trundle is not going to be the one that's getting ultimate by Jarvan. He has a lot of mobility. I think the Pillar is super underrated for what it gives you, forcing potentially a flash from one of the immobile carries that we're seeing from EDG in that Rumble and the Varus. So for Ultra Prime, there are no real tanks, but if you're going to be able to sap the stats away from an Alistar, Parukia has been one of our most aggressive supports. I think getting that away from him potentially opens up some numbers advantage when we talk about fights. Suddenly the Alistar is out of a fight, and EDG are looking at Jarvan being your only form of engage from that point on.
I think form of engage in this game is going to be a very fun thing to track going forward, as we do get Angel locking the Ahri in, trying to counter pick this Taliyah, interestingly. But you talked about Alistar, right? Like, if Parukia gets caught a little bit too far forward, he's out of the game. But also for Ultra Prime, Rakan is very slippery, but also very squishy. And outside of that, you're hoping for Deadly Flourish and flickbacks on Taliyah to try and set this Ambessa up. There is not a lot of reliable engage outside of XiaoXia in this game for Ultra Prime.
Thankfully for UP, what we can see from them is, yes, Zhang can dive into the backline. That is what the Battle Dance will be able to allow for XiaoXia to dive in on. But I think the lanes are really tough for them to play right now. You're going to be having an Ahri who's going to get wave priority, at least for the first early bit of the game. And the Rumble versus Mbessa matchup is really punishing early on. So I want to see how EDG are actually able to leverage some of their gold advantage. They have some of the best gold difference at 15 in the league. But my worry is how are they going to be actually able to maybe turn some of these advantages into objectives? Because they struggle, especially around using the Heralds, but they know Dragon's one of the most important objectives. Let's see them actually push for it.
And on those objective setups, that's been something marred by mistakes for Ultra Prime. All split 3 long. Thought they might have turned a bit of a corner, though, up against Thunder Talk to keep their play-ins hopes alive. Again, if Ultra Prime can come out on top in this series, they are locked into extra League of Legends after the regular split for the first time all year long for Ultra Prime, but they have a tough opponent in front of them, EDG on the other side, a composition that we are looking to definitely take control early in some of these lanes and try and snowball like they have so many games so far to reach the 6-1 marker. It's time to hit Summoner's Rift, game number 1 for a critical Group Nirvana series.
All right, it's been tough. It's been tough.
Yeah.
Some of these Group Nirvana teams, the fans have not. There was an EDG fan in Split 2 who was real obnoxious, and I respected it because that guy was putting in work. But we're already here into the game. Something that we'll have to watch throughout, especially, is our 2 supports. A lot of impact to XiaoXia, especially in their wins, and for Parukia, one of the most aggressive supports we have had, join the league this split. So the Alistar, I think, has so many different ways of making Ultra Prime basically impossible for them to actually play fights. And the bottom lanes between these two, very, very aggressive.
Speaking on that aggression, I want to talk about on his decision here on the Varus. Don't put intended there. Going the Comet, so he's going the lethality still, despite the on-hit changes we talked about. Also rocking the teleport. I'm actually kind of a fan of it. I don't think if he's going lethality, should be under a lot of threat in this game. So why not just try to be able to match the early game that we expect to be pretty dominant bot side by being able to reset much better?
Yeah, let's see what On's able to do. Will mean, like we said, that ability for EDG to play on multiple lanes, to get priority especially, should be something that we get to watch. Jungler starting on opposite sides. Junhao on his bottom side, already starting his 3rd camp here, and watching how Xiaohao is able to pilot this Jarvan, already on vision, however, thanks to Ultra Prime.
While taking teleport will be helpful for the holistic game plan here for EDG, does obviously give combat power over to Baiye and XiaoXia in these early levels like we talked about. They love to try and start getting some skirmishing going down there, but right now they are pretty effectively zoned off from this wave. I'm going to wait for it to crash back in. So push is going to be over there. That should allow for Xiaohao to pick up this first crab on the bot side pretty uncontested, as both junglers will comfortably trade their crabs.
All right, so I did a little bit of scouting. And by scouting, I mean I just went and did math. For Ultra Prime, they've been a team historically that have been kind of bottom of the table. EDG, mixed success, as we've seen in more recent times. But the last time Ultra Prime beat EDG was in Split 2. It was a regular season game. It was week 4 of the season. But past that, that is the only time Ultra Prime have ever beaten EDG in LPL. Ever. In their, wow. They've been in the LPL for 4 years now. They beat them in NEST, but a lot of stats don't usually include those kinds of tournaments. So pretty impressive for EDG that they've consistently been able to beat this team.
Consistent thorn in the side of Ultra Prime's young time in the LPL. That's a good note to follow if this series starts to get a lot closer.
Oh, come on!
All right, we've lost Xiaohao mid-clear. That is unfortunate.
35-50. My mid laner is saying Taliyah has not been ganked. My enemy Taliyah has not lost flash, and my Jarvan is doing bottom side scuttle.
So what you're saying is this is team sabotage on a certain disconnection issue for Xiaohao.
It's jungle diff. It's jungle diff 4 minutes in already.
Jungle diff 4 minutes in. Yeah, that is a very unfortunate spot for a pause to come through because as just we went through the most mundane kind of normal 4 minutes, right? Both jugglers full cleared. They both took their respective crabs. Now they're going to go reward other camps to catch second rotation. And we didn't get the bottom lane throwing hands at level 2 like you were talking about. What was the number? Ultra Prime have 6 first bloods across split 3 so far? I think you said earlier?
So I looked at it for their Thunder Talk series. In their last 8 games during that time, they got first blood in 6 of them, and in 4 of them it was for Baiye. So we've seen a lot of action usually from Baiye and XiaoXia. It is more uncommon than it is the other way. So I was expecting, but you look at the matchup, you're playing Jin and Rakan, not a lot of agency for you to be able to kind of leverage that fact. And we've seen already that Ana and Parukia, from the short amount of time we've gotten here from this game 1, already opening up an advantage for themselves with this poke Varus, who is nerfed. Again, for everybody who's joining us, we have been on 25-16 for 2 days. I am not expecting a lot of teams to have already reacted very fast to the patch, especially with the proximity that we are within to playoffs.
Definitely have to give that a bit more time. I was curious. I wanted to look. This is just the second Jin game coming across here for Baiye of the split. He's actually, for a guy who I felt like might play, you have a tighter champion pool because he's playing, he comes into a team, like you mentioned, having only subbed in for 1 game in split 2. Probably was getting a bit more scrim time, but he's actually been played, I believe, I'm doing napkin math of my own over here. That looks to be about 10 or 11 unique champions played across the split so far.
Yep, 10. 10 is right.
10. Yeah, 6 Lucian games as well. So I was interested to see the Jin priority in this game. Maybe Ultra Prime are starting to cook some more compositions that are diverging from what we saw them do earlier, like we talked about up against Thunder Talk. I feel like there was a big Lucian game there. It'll be fun. I'm curious, so when we come out of this pause, you kind of talked about how Ultra Prime were able to take a pretty good swap game 1, never look back. Seems like we're getting to a spot where we might be able to see EDG actually force that first swap, maybe get Parukia up on the map as early and often, like he usually tends to do.
If I'm Jong on Ultra Prime and my bot lane tells me, hey, we want to swap out of Varus Alistar, can you, the Mbessa, play against that?
Can you manage?
I'm asking the ref while we are in this pause, can I get my bot lane turned down to 0? I don't want to hear them for the rest of the game.
Can I take? Well, yeah, that would be a criminal swap. But I'm saying I think EDG. Well, the more that you think about it, yeah, I think EDG would be a lot more comfortable with that swap. I expect that swap to come across because the Rumble would thrive a lot more in it. And from what I saw, the early trading, ZDC is definitely a bit apprehensive about some of the trades he's taken into this Mbessa early. So
Jong is throwing hands already. I love to see it. Jong has been really impressive so far as a player that came over from formerly the PCS, now the LCP. Was kind of had an okay career there, was not the best top laner, but I think a really exciting mechanical prospect. And while Ultra Prime's season in 2025 hasn't been the best, he's really started to grow, and I think this is probably the best time for this team to start spiking in Split 3. You have only a couple games left here in the season, and you need to make every single one of them count. You have 2 series left as Ultra Prime, and every single one of them is going to count whether or not you can actually lock in a play-ins best of 5.
And that's, again, something the Ultra Prime, like Plains has not been a conversation for them. The playoffs, none of that. They have not been able to play extra League of Legends outside of the Rumble stage, outside of the group stage, regular season, whatever you'd like to label it. So that is pretty big. They'll be able to return to play-ins as we return to the Rift, and we seem to have gotten Xiaohao back up and running. And now we get to test our theory here, Ulk. That's the fun part. I see a reset coming through for the EDG bottom lane. Are they going to look to make the swap? It'd be a pretty tough time for ZDZ.
Oh, the TP's immediately coming through.
Huh. Oh, all right. I forgot about 3 TP. That makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, usually what we see is that you'll kind of give up this next wave and Rumble will sit here. This is a very good spot for EDG. Thank you to our observers for showing that top wave. It is very much frozen in favor of EDG and this bottom lane. Like I was saying, typically you want to wait so that your bottom lane can try to sneak in, and if Jung overextends, your jungler's in the area, you can kind of make a play there.
Power of triple TP. And yeah, look at this wave that On is able to stack up comfortably. Baiye is going to have to cower under the tower to catch this wave up nice and good. Do see both junglers pathing opposite ways as that Drake does spawn here for Xiaohao, but that's where a bit of an interesting spot will be, knowing that Zhang has been able to get decent push into this Rumble so far. So we'll have to see what can really break that mold, or maybe we'll see LPL teams kind of not prioritize the Dragon early. We've seen that often, actually. Later Drake takes. LPL teams have been really obsessed with the Grubs fights over forcing a first Drake take.
If I'm EDG,
I spoke too soon. Hulk, I spoke too soon. Zhang, what is gone? Is he rusty? Is he off this game? Because he just got slapped silly by EDG for first blood. No Rumble ult needed.
He played the 1 through 4 very, very well, and then this level 5, very dangerous. Now, all in all, I think if you think about where the state of this game is going to be, it's fine that he's able to die there. It will mean that EDG now get a timer to move onto this dragon like we had seen, but coming into the Grubs fight in 2 minutes, Jung will not have flash, but he'll still have that ultimate, and ZDZ is a much more pliable target for Ultra Prime to find. So let's see if they're able to find a comeback there.
Going to the replay, and
you just got owned by Overheat. All right,
yeah,
there's not much doing here.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think I need an eloquent alt breakdown, because yeah, there's your breakdown on that one for Zhang. And hey, it's funny, you got ZDZ'd. And as funny as we're talking about is, I wonder how Xiaohao can get that Drake started up with no push in his top laner. Well, just solo killing the top laner will definitely get you that Drake, and that's what Xiaohao was able to pick up as we went into the replay.
And Bessa. Jung has to be so careful. Now with Junhao on the top side, he has to know, look, his camps are up on top side. He can be on this lane. Jung, you just have to wait for the wave to come to you. And ZDZ's doing you a favor right now. He is pushing because he knows we've got to go. We've got to Grubs in a minute.
Okay. Long is not going to take the bait. And that means that Junhao is going to be able to pick up some Krugs back here and then allow himself to back on up pretty comfortably. Grubs in a minute. This is one of the spots you were talking about with setups for Ultra Prime. What do they do in that last minute? Is they want to get picked off. Doing a pretty good job here, setting up for those first Grubs, I would say. Oh, Junhao, do not.
Okay, Junhao's here, but it's fine. He does not have pillars. XiaoXia's in the area, and Saber will have ultimate.
Oh, here we go. It's Parukia again. The fire starter for EDG. Headbutt pulverize Junhao back out. Cancel from the grand entrance. It's going to force a flash out of Junhao. There's the Cataclysm through onto 2. Junhao holding on to that flash that he doesn't have, and he'll drop to On, who finds the first kill. Now Baiye is going to have to expend some of his summoners. There's the Weaver's Wall coming down, going to cut off some of the EDG attack. Really good use of that ultimate from Saber. And now the rocks are starting to flame. There's the flash forward from Xiaohao. He's going to eliminate Baiye as Parukia with no HP. Does not care. He's trying to set up more kills, and they're going to cash them in. 3 more kills picked up for Edward Gaming, and the curtain call coming down on the Saber. The flash doesn't mean anything. 3 kills to On. EDG routing in the first 8 minutes.
Oh, that is such a nightmare fight. We even got to see some cool tech. Saber saving the point into his ultimate so he can activate it if he ever gets into combat. A small Talia tech, but just a disgusting amount of gold now here for EDG. Like you had mentioned, 3-0 for this Varus. We can take a look at this yet again. There's no level 6 here for XiaoXia. I think it's really tough. And with Junhao no longer having flash, I mean, you can make this instant engage. I had said during the draft, usually Trundle's not the person who's going to get ulted, but with no ability for him to make an outplay here, very, very good punish coming in for EDG, who now have a incredibly fed Varus while they're still giving up the Grubs.
Saber really tried to do everything he could to kind of save this fight. He gets so much damage down. But just that EDG aggressiveness, you saw Parukia. This is what I wanted. All right, was Parukia and Xiaohao committing to these aggressive angles, and you saw with the flash forward from both of them. And yeah, that's a tough interaction.
But part of that is because that is true. But part of the reason why ZDZ can even be there is because He got the kill onto Jung, he pushed the wave, and then was able to move so that Jung could never answer that fight. And even with him not having the flash and TP, that was a big punish. Somehow, Ultra Prime, with their 3 grubs, they're sending 4 people. They want first turret.
Want? That's a past tense. We're going to have to go with that one.
Oh,
they
yeah.
got. They're going to pick up that first brick here. So ZDZ, I mean, no grubs. Yeah, you're going to get what? Maybe, yeah, 2 plates probably. That's a great swing by Ultra Prime to at least stabilize some of that gold. But still looking pretty hurt and behind here. And Zhang, oh, he wants revenge. He wants revenge for that solo bolo. He was out of that last fight. Now he's trying to throw hands into ZDZ, but he's once again fighting him near overheat. And yeah, all right, Zhang, we've learned from our lessons so far.
If he didn't get hit by the Ultra Harpoon, the Electric Harpoon, maybe it's playable. But the MR shred that is on that ability is very disgusting. And like you said, getting closer to overheat makes it very, very tenuous for Zhang to ever find a 1v1 in that sense. But forces ZDZ out, and this opens up a little bit of a timer here for Ultra Prime. See how they're deploying right now. XiaoXia's already getting vision. Zhang just pushed in the bottom lane wave, and with Saber and Baiye, they have the range to be able to access this river. So let's see how Ultra Prime are able to answer this. Remember, there is no teleport available here for Saber, and they kind of use that time to push the top lane wave. Who is going to catch this wave for the rest of the game? This might be a numbers advantage, as Angel does still have that summoner spell.
Really feel like Ultra Prime is just going to have to sack this win con coming online for EDG. Getting the Cloud Drake off the board here for a comp that doesn't really utilize the Cloud Drake that well, like Parukia probably likes it, is big. So I think they're going to have a pretty potent soul on their hands for that sort of a win con to play towards. Yeah, we're going to see Saber just match up against Angel. On doesn't have his TP back up yet either, but not going to see this Varus move much either from this mid lane. Feel like this is just a free dragon, and Xiaohao recognizes that as well.
Junhao took his recall because he has a completed Sundered Sky. XiaoXia's actually going to get, XiaoXia's going to get spotted here thanks to that minion curving around the minion for no reason, thanks to, on EDG side. 2 dragons to start. They lost their grubs, but I don't think it's a very big deal. We talked about how easy it is for EDG to get priority thanks to the champions that they have, and I love that we're seeing them leverage that. Already the first 2 objectives of the game, and it seems like that Herald spawning in 3.5 minutes is more than likely going to help us decide feats of strength.
The Heralds have been kind of a sore spot for, well, you could argue both of our teams on some of those objectives, but I want to look at some of the items that will really be coming online, especially for the EDG side, that are going to make any sort of Herald fight in about 3 minutes a lot more potent. You can see about 1,000 gold lead here for On. Once he's able to cash in a lot of that gold and get back, he should have himself well on his way to the Moro Mana. And also going to see, okay, Chains of Corruption going to go wide there. Maybe the most missed ultimate I've ever seen in competitive play nonetheless. And hey, we don't see our team's Group Nirvana fighting over nothing. I thought we were about to see one kick off over a pink ward.
For now, it's just going to be EDG establishing vision in the river. Really important for them to do this, not only to track where Trundle is, but also stop a roaming support, someone like Saber, even potentially roaming from lane to lane and using that ultimate to make a side lane play. We don't have an objective to play for the next 2 minutes, so watching how both of these teams kind of pilot around the map, and especially our 2 supports, is going to be pivotal.
All right, here's the bowling execution down. They're going to use the quickness charm as well to knock the equalizer layered over, but ZDZ should be picked off. But the TP is coming in now. ZZ's going to flash and get it followed by Zhang. This TP was a bit off here from Angel. He does have help, though, from the top side of the river. Xiaohao coming in. Charm going to be held here. There's the flag trap. Good jog from Zhang to get around that one, but he's still going to get trapped in the Cataclysm. Is there enough damage here with Angel? Parukia gets the knockup, and they will trade their top laner back.
All right, but can they actually grab this turret here? Because what they're giving up for this right now was at least a camp here for Junhao to be able to grab up on top side. Maybe they try to long chase them out of this play. Again, 1.5 minutes before the Herald. If they can maybe get some more summoner spells, that feels really, really nice. And I thought XiaoXia was going to tank up the Ahri charm. He has Cleanse. He's been sitting on Cleanse for the last 4 minutes. So wouldn't have been surprised to see that for himself. But early items already starting to come on through with a Black Fire Torch now completed for Angel.
Interesting to see the change up there on the Ahri build, the Black Fire Torch. Good to point out. I want to also highlight the fact that On does have TP of his own. So I wondered if they were going to switch up lane assignments with him being the only one to TP up. But right now, Ultra Prime are saying, screw your minute 30 objective timer they're all even talking about for them. We're just going to try and run down a turret with our grubs, which I don't hate, angling into the one thing you've been able to take control of in a very murky early game. But now you're late to the Herald.
Oh,
Maybe everyone's late to the Herald.
Oh,
over the wall, in with Parukia, Knockup City. Hello, Ultra Prime. No way for Saber to even move there, as Junhao has to use the pillar defensively, and that one pick, the problem we've seen so many times with Ultra Prime before big neutrals.
They didn't know that the ward was in the tri-brush there. I think it was a fine look because you have this Trundle. I like how they're leveraging it. You talked about the grubs, but Trundle's also really dangerous sitting around turrets with his Chomp being able to now reset on turrets. That's 10 seconds before the Herald. Can EDG actually play for this, right? So Angel doesn't have teleport, so he's going to have to back and spend his gold, then walk over to this objective. On doesn't have ultimate, Parukia doesn't have ultimate, and all of this stuff is still up and available here for Ultra Prime. So I expect for this to be a bit of a harder fight for EDG to play.
Parukia going to try and get some of that vision taken care of, as Ultra Prime are already on top of good old-fashioned Shelly, cracking her outside shell down to about half HP. They don't burn the Herald too quick here with the Jhin, and Parukia, as always, is looking for an aggressive angle in, as Xiaohao is wanting to see if Junhao's up for a bit of a 50-50. He's going to pop the Subjugate now onto Xiaohao, and with that big ultimate down, they're going to secure the Rift Herald. Curtain Call is going to come out here. We see a flick back onto Parukia. Good usage of the Q4 to get out of the flick back, but he gets knocked up and severed down thanks to XiaoXia. Parukia dying a bit out of position for the sins of EDG.
Ultra Prime do need to take a reset here, though. We've got Dragon spawning in 45, and looks like EDG will be able to play. We're seeing this tug and pull here from our two teams. We take one play, the next team is able to grab the objective, and then vice versa. Ultra Prime, though, they've got all the objectives that help them take down turrets. This mid turret is really, really healthy, so are they going to opt to go for longer side lanes and help Saber and Zhang get a little bit more gold? Seems like that's going to be the case. As you see, they're trying to make a deployment onto ZDZ.
I'm a bit cautious with this game plan. Public execution, though, down. Here comes the Weaver's Wall. ZDZ once again finds himself in a 1v number scenario that he just never survives. Just like that. And now, yeah, Ultra Prime, don't worry about the Dragon spawning on the bot side. EDG have to answer this Herald play.
Okay, they're gonna pull it away.
Oh, no.
All right, Junhao, can we
people
get this into mid lane right now? That's one curve.
Okay,
this could be two curve. They don't have enough damage. They're going to get mid lane. I mean, Baiye, he didn't push fast enough, but...
Junhao.
Oh, it cancels!
No! He runs out of time. He would have passed his driver's test too, Hulk. That's so unfortunate.
That's not his fault. The car broke down.
Yeah.
That's not his fault.
The car did broke down. Yeah, that's true. Don't dock him on his test for that one. The unfortunate reality of that, too, is you also pulled all of EDG's attention back towards that Drake pit, and now... off the reset here for Saber and Junhao. It's going to be hard for Ultra Prime to wiggle their way in towards this Chemtech Soul point that EDG are making a priority.
And it'll be feats of strength here completed for EDG. Grabbing themselves that would feel very nice. Obviously already having a lot of their boots, giving them that small edge in fights. We're only going to be about 1,000 gold in the advantage of Edward Gaming, but so far their objective setups have felt a lot cleaner than their opponents, and these fights have felt more, I guess, intentional from EDG, where Ultra Prime are making a few too many slip-ups, and especially with that Herald going basically to waste, they lost a large amount of their ability to actually pressure the rest of this map.
They're still waiting for a lot more of their damage to become a pretty threatening spot. Is okay, enhanced blast cone. Ooh, I like that. Fade away from the grand entrance, then throw the Cataclysm onto XiaoXia, but he gets an ally to dash back out of, so you now lose that ultimate.
No!
Here comes the equalizer, though, that XiaoXia was just not expecting. So ZZ is able to clean up the scrap started by his jungler.
But can they turn this into turrets? That's the big thing. EDG, they've only gotten a single turret for themselves. They now have Angel sitting in mid lane. They use the teleport for this exact play. Saber's coming through.
Oh, XiaoXia, he has to flash over the Weaver's Wall. Great placement there. Is going to allow EDG to escape, but I like the looks Ultra Prime are going for, trying to catch some of these Edward Gaming members a bit out of position.
They trapped him in terrain. That was the Trundle Pillar. That was the ultimate coming in from Saber. That was very, very clutch. And getting that flash from Xiaohao, maybe not the biggest impact, but now there's 3 ultimates taken away from EDG. This gives some breathing room over to Ultra Prime, who having to feel the effects of how they can play some of these lanes. Losing that bottom lane tier 1, the longer lane that exists in top side. Ultra Prime are, in my mind, they're a little bit dizzy right now because they're constantly having to go to fix their outside waves first and then move into the middle of the map towards these objectives, towards the mid lane.
And Ultra Prime have been dizzy against many opponents in Group Nirvana so far. You can see it supporting their series score, but I do want to make sure to remind everyone watching that in that Thunder Talk series where they kept their play and hopes alive, Game 3, do or die Game 3, they early game into mid game were looking kind of dizzy too, right? They did give up a Mountain Soul. They gave Scaling Smolder a lot of problems, but they were able to kind of recollect themselves and win that game in that series. So this is another spot that we kind of talked about we might get into in the pre-show, where they might fall behind, but can they show once again they can battle back against a much bigger opponent?
Well, if EDG wins, then I think this just proves the fact of in competitive that Varus is just more broken than Smolder. It's results-based analysis. 2.5 minutes before the dragon spawns, ZDZ is trying to hover on mid lane. I like that we've seen from Ultra Prime that they've been willing and able to defend this mid lane wave, even against the assault of this Varus. It is something we noted in draft that it'll be significantly easier for Edward Gaming to play with priority with the champions that they have available to them.
Trying to leverage that priority towards the bot side where all their goodies are going to be encapsulated. Right now, it is Otacon. In about 2 minutes, that will be a Chemtech Soul in pretty early fashion. Definitely helps as much work we've talked about EDG have to do on the turret game, that the one turret they have knocked down is thankfully on the side where all the big objectives going forward are going to be playing in the next 5 minutes.
This would be EDG right now. They're in such a good spot. And if you're Ultra Prime, you've got to be worried. I mean, item completions are coming through here for UP, but the dragon spawns a minute and a half. That's the soul that you have to fight against EDG. And then, depending on how well this fight ends up for EDG, they'll get a team fight win, they'll get the dragon, and the Otacon is right next to it. So, Ultra Prime, they're going to have to play really, really heavy on these next couple waves. And watch where ZDZ is going to be able to teleport here. I think they're one wave too early right now, but maybe Ultra Prime, maybe they want to try to pull this after they get the next bot wave in.
Alright, safe TP in for ZZ. Gets the Riftmaker completed. Is a play on a Zhong. Cataclysm traded for Flash out of the Mbessa. So we have a 4 on 2 fronts. Good charm coming across on Xiaoxia to make sure he can't jump onto Parukia. But Ultra Prime are making a priority to knock down this turret, but they're allowing themselves to get routed. Xiaohao still chilling all the way up in the enemy river, and they're not going to make the call to go for that flank. They protect their tier 1 turret.
Xiaohao's going to have to recall, and he doesn't have ultimate. I think very, very pivotal there. The flash from Zhong, I'll be honest, flash on Mbessa is pretty meaningless for the most part. I mean, this champion has a million dashes anyway. Looks like EDG, they're going to make the trade. They're going to go ahead and take this mid-tier 1, and now they'll move into this bottom side. Can Ultra Prime, even if they grab this dragon, or this bottom lane turret, I don't think it actually matters because they can't spend the gold now, and Ari's going to instantly delete this wave.
Big that you can see the item discrepancy right now, especially in top jungle for EDG, makes fights very worrisome for Ultra Prime, as Junhao's going to have to heal up off of his chickens. But look how dark the now Drake Pit and Otacon River have become here for Ultra Prime.
They can find it.
For Zhong, they're going to go right on top of this rubble, and a great flick back from Saber is going to pick up that first kill. Curtain Call's starting to rain down as well as the TP's come in. Angel needs to find this charm, doesn't get it. Zhong gets to still run wild, but the Spirit Rush will catch him and cut him down. Now it's Edward Gaming's turn to try and step up with piercing arrows behind coming through for On, and with Junhao much more chugged out, EDG get to reap all the rewards on this bot side river.
All right, he's just going to have to play his life, get some jungle privilege, come back out onto the map. Maybe they try to see if they can contest later into this fight. They still have the Weaver's Wall. I think it's already too late. Ultra Prime now, they lose the soul to EDG. And that damage, I think that fight was as good as it was going to get for them. They had the Unraveled Earth already set up. They had the public execution onto ZDZ, but they just don't have enough damage right now. I mean, Junhao not close to hitting his second item. Zhong teleported back in with a completed Spear of Shojin. This should have been their fight to win. Take a look back at this play. Baiye is not really dealing damage until now. Saber finally gets a little bit, but I just think that the damage is too much here from EDG of an incredibly fed Varus that we still have not dealt with since the beginning of the game.
Yeah, and you know, it's always been the pick on ZZ this game, also. in a sense, right, EDG losing him early, they're kind of used to that, the way the game has been going. He has the most deaths on his team. He's actually sporting almost all the deaths. So it's like, all right, yeah, in our view, we've now knocked away some clutch ultimates just losing ZDZ. I'm gonna have to see that priority hopefully land back on to on, but it's starting to get too little too late, especially with how much chem tech is gonna happen if fights ever do get close, as we expect them to around this Octagon, that Ultra Prime are still camping out.
Oh, we are just doing it. Ari showing top lane. She doesn't have teleport. On just teleporting into a mid-wave. Ultra Prime, I know I've been saying it, but they really need to win this fight. And even if they do, I'm very worried for their stakes here in the game. It's the best it's going to get right now for them.
Keep in mind, Angel now just hit mid lane, trying to sprint down here. Let's see if Xiaohao looks for a steal angle. That's a great equalizer from ZDZ. Ultra Prime now have to walk out of the pit momentarily. Piercing arrow smite combination is big here, and now they've allowed Angel to come around for the flank, and they're not even trying to step up to go for this Octagon because they know the turn's coming out. Great flash forward from Angel, does get Junhao rooted up. The Cataclysm comes down on 2. Xiaohao has to flash back out, but the Octagon they can just take, and now look to turn and burn with CDZ leading the charge. Public execution on top of him, but Zhang can't get enough damage down, and EDG are just too big, too bad, and too broad-shouldered to ever be knocked around in this game. 4 kills cleaned up for nothing, and XiaoXia's gonna make it a clean ace. Edward Gaming looking like they're back to that dominant form that we saw from them at the start of this split.
Well, it's only a 4-0, but I think at 25 minutes, you'll take a soul, you'll take an Otacon, and you'll take a 4-0 ace. So let's push out on these waves, and let's see how EDG are able to clean out this game. A dominant start to finish. I mean, we go all the way back to the first set of grubs and stuff. We're looking at EDG fighting a full-on ace almost. They get multiple kills here for On, and he has been absolutely untouched. The only people to die, ZDZ and Parukia. I think that's a perfect game if you are Edward Gaming.
Go back to see this fight. I thought the equalizer ult was just so big to get EDG control of Octagon.
And then the rest of this, just a fantastic snap from Parukia yet again. Rookie support here for EDG. Angel flashes and finds the charm onto a crowd-controlled Trundle. There's not much else to play out from there. Like you had said, the equalizer kind of set them up, marinated them, sizzled them up, and then Burgers landed cheese side up for EDG. You just got 3 kills. Parukia.
Oh, hello. Look at this flank coming across here. On to On. They pick him off. What a find from Junhao and company to get that one started. Can they clean up the fight now without On? No, it's just too little, too late. Welcome to Ultra Prime getting wallet diffed, everybody, even when they find the golden goose of On.
And this is what we needed to see from EDG for them to be able to get first place in Group Nirvana. They cannot drop a single series. And while their schedule isn't particularly tough, we already saw them drop a game to Thunder Talk. They dropped a whole series versus their counterparts in NIP. And thankfully, we are seeing more of the same. Ultra Prime's first series of the split was against EDG, and it looks like one of their last couple of games is going to be up against this team.
Baron secured onto 4 members as we get a look back at a very creative flank here from XiaoXia, though.
Yeah, this was very deep, but there's just no damage here from Ultra Prime. I feel bad for them because they know they have to fight. They're not allowed to just sit back and let the game kind of come to them. But Angel's keeping the backline completely preoccupied. I'm just watching Baiye this whole time on Jin. He's doing nothing. I'm sorry, Slayer. The champion is not good right here. He's got his third item. He's got his third item, but he went RFC second, so he's kind of useless.
Yeah, paper tissue Jin, you see when you get the Yomus. Again, in a competitive stance, Jin is very much used as a facilitating functional champion. So, yeah, he's going to hit like throwing pebbles at a stone wall, but it was not intended for him to be a big damage dealer in this game. This game just got out of hand very quickly. Like you mentioned, that grub fight, them losing 4 members that quickly against an EDG team that we have pretty lofty expectations for from a Group Nirvana stance, and maybe even further. You can't give them those windows, or you get games like this where 28 minutes in, you're getting 4-1 split onto 2 spots, and it's really hard to find any engage angle right now in Edward Gaming.
And there's also item advantages in almost every single lane right now, especially for Xiaohao, who we needed to see step up considering his last couple series have been less than stellar. Parukia is going to try to go on in. He's going to force Ultra Prime away. 2 inhibitors are going to fall, and they still have Baron for another minute while this Elder spawns in 15.
Elder. Man, I forgot. Yeah, we got Soul at 23 minutes. That means Elder gets to come in at about 29 minutes, but EDG looking like they want to take the express route to a Nexus explosion. Still hanging around here. Guys, let's not fall for the Nexus turrets fallacy, all right? If you're going to go for it, you got to win it here. And all right, Xiaohao finds an angle on Baiye, who gets the pink lava curtain put under him. Still surviving, though, with this redemption up. He'll finally drop, but Ultra Prime, there's nowhere left for them to run. There's nowhere left for them to hide. And even if they go back into the fountain, their Nexus cannot come with them. What a game one here from Edward Gaming, showing they are in a class of their own, along with NIP in Group Nirvana.
And they kind of ruined some of their KDAs at the end. Not happy about that, but if that's the only thing we're critiquing them for, then I think you're very, very pleased as Edward Gaming, taking a incredibly dominant game one here. About what we expected. I know I was a bit more on the hopium here for Ultra Prime, but yeah, still. EDG are the expected favorites for not only this matchup, for the rest of their series, but potentially even making it all the way into first place.
And that game did kind of go how Ultra Prime liked to function somewhat early on. They got the Grubs into a comp with the Trundle, and they were playing strong side towards Zhang, who was able to pick the Ambessa. So those two things they did well, if we want to lean into that hopium. It's just against EDG, your other lanes kind of get poopied on, and that's what ended up happening.
It was tough. I think that part of it was after they weren't able to contest the Dragon, where we saw that Saber had to go topside. They had put him in mid lane for a small bit of time, but they weren't really able to find anything. I think also the Otacon setup, the fact that they weren't able to immediately stop it, part of that is you are playing against a Jarvan. So a Talia wall doesn't actually do all that much other than maybe get some of those spells out for a small time. We just didn't really see Ultra Prime pull the trigger on some of these fights, and while they got early gold thanks to their Trundle and 3 Grubs, it just wasn't enough.
It wasn't enough in this game, and you brought it up at the very end there before the next explosion came back across here, Alk, and I do want to give him his flowers. Yeah, I think this was a huge game from Xiaohao, and this is such a driving force, because when he is off and not in the right spots, you know, not coordinating with Parukia, it doesn't just make him look bad. It doesn't just make Parukia look like he's kind of trolling with some of his engages. It just decks down EDG's power a lot, actually, I would say. And this game, you saw what it looks like when those two are both looking aggressive to constantly fight.
They're not even like the most mechanically proficient amongst all of their roles. If you think about it from EDG, a lot of their wins come from kind of slow rolling a lot of their games. Angel especially being really good about getting waves on sides, making sure that he's farmed up. I always think about his Victor play being rather clean and trying to, you know, kind of puppeteer the rest of the fight around him. And we didn't see that from Ultra Prime. Ultra Prime weren't kind of pushing the pace of the game to get ahead of EDG. We didn't see them really focus on ever. Part of the Trundle value is that if you have Flash, I'm forcing you to use it, because I can just Trundle pillar you and there's going to be a recon. That didn't happen. I think part of that may also be because Zhang was muted this game, unfortunately.
Zhang was muted this game. He saw the swap come out and he's like, all he did was ping that he's following the Rumble, right? He's like, yep. You okay up there? And he's like, spam pinging. Nope, I'm going bot side. I
am okay. I'm going to be fighting this guy. Don't worry about it.
I picked this to lane against Rumble, all right? I don't know what this 2v1 business is. We'll look back at, well, really the start of the end here. As in our first replay, Alk, this was the ace that set the EDG train rolling.
And after this, I'm like, okay, can we, you know, there's a long time before we see Edge of Night completed for On, even if he starts this game 3-0. Can we please find something onto him? Can we look mid? Never the case. Junhao was more focused on trying to steal away camps from Xiaohao. And because they couldn't leverage the Ambessa being a better dive tool, by the time we got to see the Ambessa from Zhang actually apply any kind of team fight damage, I feel like the game was a bit too far gone at that point. And then On gets his Edge of Night, like we had mentioned, the spell shield plus the HP that the item gives you. Like, watching this fight, you're on to ZDZ. Already, I feel like we're at a bit of a tough spot. None of your damage is there. We're halfway, we're through ZDZ's entire HP bar, and Jin has only fired a single bullet of his ultimate. It's tough. it's tough.
Yeah, and then there's an Unbreakable Will ulted up Alistair standing in front of him as well. I thought this was the one spot where Ultra Prime, we're able to get to OddsCon first. They're still staying aggressive, but it's just the spacing here from EDG. I remember Angel started this entire play up topside. That's how much time EDG bought themselves.
And for their opponents, when you look at Ultra Prime, you look at the rest of their schedule, you kind of look at the standings right now. If they lose this match in 0-2 fashion, this still allows for a team like team like Thunder Talk, a team like LNG. They can still potentially make it. That would keep their game differential pretty low. And if they go to -6 in game differential, that opens up a lot for these two teams. So if you're a Thunder Talk or an LNG fan, first of all, I'm really sorry. This whole year has not been great
really
to you.
Sorry. Yeah.
But there's still a chance. Still a chance.
I'm especially extra sorry to Thunder Talk fans because for LNG, it was just kind of always depressing. So you were like in that state the whole time. But Thunder Talk fans, you were lied to in Split 1. They did you dirty.
You were lied to, Slayer. You lied to them.
I am an unbiased journalist, and I only presented the facts, which were Thunder Talk were winning games. I have no idea what Ulk's talking about. We never ran a graphic.
It was never on tape.
About how
there was no tape of this.
There was no tape that Thunder Talk only wins when I casted them. That never happened. Let's talk player of the game so I can segue away from my bad takes here. Give me your take, Ulk, on who should get Pog here for EDG.
I mean, honestly, if you think about his impact in the game, ZDZ unironically actually did a lot this game. He was basically big raid boss on campus. Probably is going to be going over to On with how he started and how the rest of that game looked from him. You're playing Poke Varus. Even with the nerfs, still is pretty good.
Still is pretty good. Let's see if On is going to grab it. No, hey, you know what?
Xiaohao.
You're not going to believe it.
You did call
Okay,
this.
I was about to say, because I was thinking in my head while you were saying On, I thought you were going to call me out for going biased what they pick. Xiaohao, the guy who you looked a little bit off in these recent series here for EDG, I think put together a masterclass of a J4 game, and the scoreline dictates that so eloquently. 4-0-18 as a main engage tool. When you go deathless on an engage tool, yeah, you should be getting some love in the player of game conversations. I, though, Ulk, would like to give some love out to a very special group here when it comes to the LPL English broadcast, and that is our coffee supporters as I campaign anyone out there looking to support us to join in on the fun. If you would like to support the LPL English, consider becoming a coffee member. Coffee is the best way to support the LPL English project since the vast majority of your contributions will go directly to the show. A lot of the initial payments go into upgrading the broadcast, but a huge bulk of it pays on-air talent and content creators. Subscribe to our coffee linked in chat below to unlock perks like early access to content and the ability to ask interview questions for our unique on-site interviews. So big shout out to all you supporting us through coffee. And is this a good time? I watched the video about 8 billion times of a certain giveaway that's also going on around here.
True. We do have a giveaway, everybody. Please, it is currently pinned on the LPL English Twitter. If you saw some of our MSI interviews, only possible thanks to fans like you watching the show, we are giving away the Polaroids that we took. Every one of our interviews, we were able to grab a Polaroid of the player, also signed by them. So go ahead and check out our giveaway to potentially win one of those Polaroids for yourself.
And Ulk sold that well, but I'll sell it with my big boy voice really quickly for everybody. Signed Faker Polaroid.
True.
Signed Faker Polaroid. You could win it. That's enough to get me involved. Hopefully it gets a lot of you involved. I'll give you some time to marinate on that thought as we will be going to a break. On the other side, see if EDG can take care of business in 2-0 fashion or if Ultra Prime are going to make